Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the last session of the first day of Green Tech, the most exciting topic of today's, I will say, about space tech. So before we start, I would like to point you to the QR code where you can download, make notes, annotate, or highlight content directly of the presentations. So today we have a very exciting topic about space. Maybe before I introduce my distinguished panel, a raise of hands. Who have seen or loved the movie Martian? Who haven't seen? Okay. And question, who wants to go to Mars with Elon Musk?
With Elon Musk. Not with Elon Musk.
Okay, well, no, great. So today this topic is about Mars and Moon, but what does it mean for Earth? So I have a very distinguished panelist from all industry leaders and thinkers. We have Dr. Wieger Wemmelink. He is a space exoecologist. So that means biologist focus on outer space, right? ESO.
Yes.
Okay. And then we have Camilla from the startup, very exciting startup coming from space tech, Skytree. So I think Camilla will tell you all about the DNA coming from space and how they are bringing to solving real problems on Earth here with the CA sector. We have Rick Snijders from Siemens with a very big stand in the Hall 2, where you can see all the latest innovations and data. So Rick will tell us about what the role of technology company and data is doing on upscaling innovation. And last one, we have Jürgen Bastiansen from Festo, which is, many people actually work with that, but maybe that in many sectors we see it in robotic solutions, in terms of also latest innovation in bioprocessing. So Jürgen will tell us all about that. So, Wieger, so tell us what's happening in a sector, in a space of space research, and why is it relevant to here, to Earth?
Well, what we are actually doing is reinventing agriculture. And it will start, yes. That's what we do at BASE.
Yes.
Do I have a clicker?
There one.
Right yeah. There. Right. So I have control myself. I like that. Welcome to you all. What we're trying to do is reinvent agriculture in space, but also for Earth. So it's a direct link with Earth. Yeah. Interfering with the boxes. Don't walk. So that's our main goal, to see if we can grow crops in space, especially on Mars or on the Moon. And what we try to do is make use of what's available over there.
Next.
It's a green button.
There should be a green button on it. Ah, this one. Yes. So if we're looking at Mars, circumstances are very harsh. It's far away, takes a long travel. Well, I saw some people already willing to go. I might, but might not, a bit far away. But we've got several problems over there we have to solve. But some of those problems are similar to what we face at some places on Earth. What we don't face is a lower gravity, and we don't know actually how that will affect plant growth. So maybe that's something you can only do research on at the spot. But one of the things is an air problem. There is a little bit of air, but we will have to make it. Well, she will tell all about that, how we can make CO2 and how we can apply that. There's radiation over there, cosmic radiation, which is dangerous for people. Basically, if you get too much, you will die. But it's also a problem for plants. And, well, there is a lot of water, ice on Mars, but for the rest, there's almost nothing there. There's no life, there's no organic matter. So how are we going to do that? Well, we want to build a dome, and that's what is BASE all about. We want to design a blueprint for Mars, for the Moon, with all the equipment, but also with the biology that is needed to grow your own food at the spot. So it's going to be indoors, controlled circumstances, but still we want to make use as much as possible what is over there. Well, to do that, you have to bring a lot of things. And that's where we're working on. The first years we were working on just growing crops in those regolith soil, which did not contain nitrates, which did not contain ammonia, which did not contain phosphate, at least not available. No bacteria, no life, no organic matter, so no manure. But we managed, and we did several things with peas, but also with other crops, potatoes for instance. But you need bacteria to break down organic matter, the waste products of your plants, cyanobacteria, rhizobium bacteria that can take N2 out of the air and turn it into nitrate, ammonia, so you can actually fertilize the soil. You have air inside, normal air. Fungi to release phosphate from the soil, so that that becomes available as well. We want to bring worms, and of course those worms are key. I like them, but they are very important, not only on Mars, but also here on Earth. If you go out here in the Netherlands in a field, you probably will find almost no earthworms anymore. But it's a very wet season at the moment, and that's problematic because everything is wet. If you would have had a lot of earthworms, the water would have gone into the soil instead of flushing off soil, nutrients, etc. The same applies on Mars. The soil is very hydrophobic, so it's very difficult to get to water the soil actually, but the worms help. And of course, they also bring carbon into the soil, also very important nowadays on Earth. You can do something about carbon sequestration in agricultural fields with them. So you can store carbon in the soil, but for me it's also important that it's recycled and that the nutrients from it are again released so the plants can grow. Well, and I need some people as well, and that makes the circle complete, because I need their feces. They have to be turned into manure again, and we're working on that as well. We, for instance, use Truvite, which now is allowed also for agricultural purposes, but with that we can recycle human urine and turn it into manure, something we've almost forgotten about on Earth. Here in the Netherlands we don't do that anymore, but it's there. And we flush it down the toilet, and then it goes to a sewage plant. We spend a lot of money to get, again, to clean it, and then we burn it, but we don't reuse it. So that's totally not circular. And that's actually what we learned also from these experiments, that if you want to do agriculture over there, that you have to be circular. That's very important. Not only for Mars, but also here on Earth. Well, I already told, we use human urine. Here's an example on the left side, and it's not yellow because we applied urine. Actually, it didn't get urine. So you see the difference on the left side. Okay, the green bean grows, but it suffers. You get a bean. But on the right side, we applied Truvite on Mars regolith, simulant, and you see a big harvest. That's the difference. So that's how powerful human urine can be. And then, of course, it's time to eat. We tasted already several products that we grew on our soils. They're very nice. They're slow, a little bit grower, so they are more tasty. And they are also safe to eat. We checked that because there are a lot of heavy metals in the regoliths, and we don't want to end that up into what we eat. So I end with this. Wageningen always has challenges for students especially. The next challenge will be about rethinking food, and that will be also about crops grown in space. And one of the challenges will be to design a platform that can be used in orbit here around Earth, and where we can grow our own crops and maybe bring them back to Earth. Thank you.
question, Viggo. There's indeed a lot of a parallel between space, the extreme environment, and Earth. There's a lot of directions where you can do research and find solutions. The question is, what kind of partnership would needed to accelerate this kind of innovation to Earth applications?
Well, yes, a lot of things, but what we do especially is try to do the research.
Okay.
That's what we do, and then we bring it out, and it has to be scaled up.
Yes.
For instance, if we look at the urine,
Yeah.
it's easy for us to collect and to process it. But if we want to do it here in the Netherlands on a major scale, then that needs to be scaled up.
Okay.
And we need other companies to do that, startups.
Yeah.
So we do the research, and then maybe our own startup or other startups can do that.
So that will bring the topic to Skytree. Can you tell us how Skytree grew from a space tech spin-off startup to now commercializing CO2 capture technology for solving a pressing issue for the CA sector?
Absolutely. Everyone can hear me? Should I stand up?
Yes, if you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me on this lovely panel. So I am from Skytree. I actually live in the United States for Skytree, and I am the business development leader in North America. So specifically focused on the controlled environment agriculture. So how many of you in here are growers? Great. Let's talk after. So Skytree was born out of the European Space Agency. So that's our connection to space. And what we do at Skytree actually is we manufacture direct air capture units. So basically what that means is that our units pull carbon dioxide out of ambient air, so the air that we normally breathe. And because humans produce CO2 when they breathe out, when astronauts are up in confined cabins in space, there needs to be a way to pull the CO2 out of those cabins. So that's really where the technology started. And since then, the company has actually pivoted into the controlled environment agriculture industry. So we actually started in the automobile industry, but we really wanted to move into an industry where we could actually quickly address some of the challenges that they were experiencing around CO2. So CO2 today is fossil fuel based most of the time in controlled environment agriculture. So we started with a 1 kilogram per day unit that we tested at a vertical farm. And then we moved actually into a 5 kilogram day per unit, which we won the Concept and Innovation Award for last year at Green Tech. And today we're actually at 20 kilograms of CO2 per day. So this is a unit that can be deployed now. We actually already have units in the field. You can stack them on top of one another, and we'll quickly actually be following behind that unit with a much larger unit that's really geared towards greenhouses. So to actually take a step back and look at the CO2 landscape, CO2, funny enough, is usually associated with climate change and global warming, so it often has a negative connotation. But really, it's actually a super important input in a lot of different industries. It's an input in the beverage industry, so keeps your champagne bubbling. It's also an input in controlled environment agriculture because it increases the yield of crops. So when you zoom into the utilization aspect of CO2, we can actually go through an example. So a large emitter, like an oil refinery, will give off CO2 in their manufacturing process. That CO2 can be captured, purified, liquefied, and then trucked to the vertical farm or greenhouse. Sounds like a great process. What otherwise would be going into the air is now being utilized in agriculture. But what actually happens in that process is most of the time you end up actually amplifying emissions. And once the plants die, the CO2 goes back into the atmosphere, so you're just postponing the emissions that the oil refinery would be giving off. So overall, it's a very bad practice, and the other alternative to that is burning natural gas on site. So at Skytree, we think there's a better way to do this, and why not just use the abundance of CO2 that's in our atmosphere already, and actually use these units to pull the CO2 out of the air, and then be able to utilize it in a grow room.
Great, exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you mentioned a number of 10 million tons of CO2,
Yeah.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
But there's still, of course, a lot more potential for CO2 capture. That's a big topic. You can think of applications for building material, for agriculture. So how do you see the opportunity for cross-industry collaboration to accelerate this and increase the impact on a global level?
Absolutely. So I think to your point, we absolutely need to shine a spotlight on direct air capture. And I think there's a couple of ways that we can do that. I think first of all, we need innovation and innovators in the space, so growers specifically, who want to lead with a new technology and want to adopt more sustainable practices. We need them to step up and be willing to actually implement a technology like this, so we can develop data, so we can gain learnings from using this technology and ultimately share it with the rest of the industry. I also think research universities like Wageningen, who we're already working with, play a very important role in building credibility for new technology, and ultimately they're trusted sources, right? So it's important that they can also play a part in testing the technology, demonstrating its effectiveness, and ultimately sharing that data to the rest of the industry.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to move to Rick.
Yeah.
Rick, you are also a Siemens kind of newcomer to the future food with CEA. So how do you see your role as a large technology company to help? We talk about scaling up innovation, need to accelerate the development of a new technology, innovative business model. What is your take as Siemens? What's your role in upscaling that?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm Rick Snijders. I'm working for Siemens headquarters, heading future food, so meaning that we're focusing on all sustainable food production. And I see actually the nice picture of a total supply chain. It's also actually showing how complex the whole value chain of food and beverage is. It's really complex. If you look to all these silos of production, often looking to agriculture till it reaches the consumer, you need to have a lot of automation and digitalization. So we're looking at Siemens, how can we actually help every element in that supply chain to get more optimized, more resilient, and also reduce cost, and in the end, drive, of course, sustainability. If I zoom into space tech, it's actually one of the main focuses of Siemens. And you think, what is actually Siemens doing as an industrial automation company in space tech? Well, data is becoming really, really important. And if you can think about, if you travel to Mars, it was taking eventually a long time, you want to invest and you make a space shuttle, and you can only invest your money one time, right? So when it's going, you actually want to simulate the real to the virtual world. And actually what we can do already today is we can predict the future. The same with space, we can actually make a digital copy of the Mars rover, actually what we're doing, the space shuttle, everything, the whole environment you can simulate. How would your crop react? How would your supply chain react? And you can make a digital copy of your supply chain, of your process, of your machine, of your product, and even of the package. What is biodegradable? When is it being vanished in nature? Everything we can simulate in real, in the virtual world. And that is exactly what we're doing also in the space tech, is that you're actually helping simulating environments, and that's also making the copy from Mars, what is of course not thinkable. How could we as humans live on Mars? But we can actually simulate that environment into the real world here and actually help providing companies to simulate it, to make real, to create that real environment, to fight the challenges that we have today. And that's actually the role of Siemens as being a technology company, helping a lot of industries, food industries, but also the space tech industry to make really the next step to be more resilient and more modular.
So Skytree took about 10 years from space tech spin-off to a company to commercialize. It took, and then Ring in the War last year, and now start commercialize. this process took 10 years, which is not very long, it was very impressive. But given the urgency of the issues we face today, circularity, climate change, biodiversity, we need more startups actually that can speed up this curve. What do you think that they can help if young entrepreneurs, like a young Skytree that has great ideas in indoor farming, where can they speed up their innovation and let the world see it?
No, well, startups are super crucial, and I think that is also the role of also Siemens. We have a big booth there, but it's called, you see a big X, and where the X is standing for collaboration. Collaboration is key, so you need to empower companies, definitely a lot of new companies, to give them a platform. So for what Siemens sees is crucial in the industry is that we start standardizing, that you're providing a platform of infrastructure with all companies can scale. So meaning that we need to standardize on the hardware that we're using in the farms, hardware that we're using in our equipment, that basically the data that's coming out of it, that we can use that. So there will be a lot, that we need to have a lot of different companies if we want to fight the challenges, because we cannot make something what is future ready in 10 to 20 years, so we don't know what will come. But if you have a certain infrastructure, if we're building that infrastructure today, meaning that we're starting in the beginning of the chain, the farm to the consumer, everybody needs to build a certain infrastructure where new companies can grow and not reinventing the wheel the whole time. And we see other industries are already tackling that. Definitely with agriculture, what is different when you're growing a real crop instead of having fixed consumer goods, right? Like electronics, but also there, it's already doable. So I would say we need to make that step. We need to embrace all these new companies and give them a podium, definitely.
Great. So you are head of the future food department. So what are the, let's say, what excites you most about the technological development in the area of future food?
Well, what excites me the most is that, well, technology is there, right? So we see that a lot of things are already possible. So I think what is nice to share our knowledge, to work together with a lot of cool companies, because it's really revolutionizing. I think what surprised me the most of entering the agriculture market as Siemens, because we're quite new here, is that a lot of the companies were quite positive. They want to collaborate. They really are looking, okay, how can I make the next step? I really want to have the podium. I want to scale as a company. And the cool thing is that if we are starting to collaborate more in ecosystems, together with big companies, learn from also startup companies and develop that along the way, well, that personally motivates me more and more every day. And also even the people in Siemens, because that oil spot within Siemens is getting also bigger on all the different continents. So that's really great to see.
So yeah, the dialogues, collaboration, that's actually the precursor for innovation.
Of course, yes, definitely.
Great. So now I have a dialogue with the Festo. So Jürgen, tell us, what are you working on in the latest development in the direction of future food?
Yes, I will try to do. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, it's the second German company actually that is in industrial automation. So maybe a little bit of strange bite in the duck in the bite. Well, Vesta, like Siemens, we are a German company. We are a family-owned company, and we are ready for the future because we have a lot of sales offices throughout the world. But Festo is known as an innovative company. So we do a lot of industrial automation, a lot of robotics, a lot of movement, a lot of communication. So innovation, R&D are keywords for our company, but also education. So bringing what we thought of in our laboratories, bring it to the market, but we need to educate people. And the other one is also our corporate responsibility to leave the world a little bit better behind than when we found it. And one of the topics, Festo is also, for a very long time, very inspired by things that happen in nature. So for the last 15 years, Festo has been looking to nature, what is going on there? How do things in nature move? How do things in nature communicate? What type of materials are used? So in the meantime, in the last 15 years, Festo has established like a zoo of all animals that can be industrialized. So it's not for selling, but it's only for showing the purpose of what you can do with communication, with movement. And one of the challenges that we face, we face the challenge of a growing world population and also maybe the lack of food. So we need to rethink a little bit about how we create food in this area. And in combination with the rapid increase of the CO2 in the atmosphere, that is changing the climate. And also the fewer fossils, the resources there, or the lack of resources, or the decreasing resources that we encounter, that really challenged Festo to rethink a little bit in a different way. So how can an industrial automation company change that a little bit by going into bioeconomies? That means that all the natural resources that we have at hand, they will be reduced over time. But a lot of companies worldwide, luckily, they have transformed into bioeconomy strategies that Festo also has embraced more or less. And we try to find a combination between this bioeconomy and what you can do with industrial automation for that. And we have found out that algae might be one of the solutions, or the possible solutions in the near future to, well, maybe solve or help solve a lot of these problems. And we believe that the combination between automation technology and biology can solve the problems and create, like, how do you call that, a speed up process for industrial automation. Also to rethink a little bit for our current industry to do it in a different way. When you look at CO2 capture, when you look at, for instance, the plants, they can fixate a certain amount of CO2 per year. When you look at an algae, that you have a tenfold amount of CO2 that can be captured. When you automate the process, you can even tenfold it again. So going from 10 kilograms to 100 kilograms. And when you use synthetic biology, you can even make it a 20-fold at that time. Companies like Siemens, like Festo, we all face industrial revolutions. So we started many, many years ago with the first industrial revolution, and we are now at the forefront of the sixth industrial revolutions, which will mean the combination between technology and biology, and how we will create that. And one of the topics that Festo found out that despite the fact that we always think in aluminium, we think in electronics, we think in movements, and also despite the fact that we have been creating a lot of animals, or making copies of animals from our bionic learning network, we think that now the time is right for a company to step into the world of bionic, or in living cells. So what can we do with living cells? Because we think that cells will be the factory of the future. And if you are able to control the cells, then I think that we have a bright future ahead of us. That also requires from a company like Festo and also like Siemens that we have to collaborate. We have to collaborate with universities, with institutes, with renowned institutes, with big companies that can help us in another field as where Festo is used to work. So we are working in the industry, but we are not working in the bio world. And therefore we need these combinations with other companies that can strengthen us. One of the things that Festo has released in 2023 at the Hanover Fair is our bionic cell factory. And with this bionic cell factory, we are able to grow algae in a controlled environment by the use of industrial automation. When you look at the process, so you have the CO2 emission, so I think that's also very interesting for you to think about, to maybe look at technology that is used there. So we use there material that can absorb the CO2, and then the CO2 goes to the next phase, where with adding some microfluids, we can control, or more or less control the health status of the CO2. So when it goes to the next phase, we can really closely look at what needs to be done to get it to the next phase. And in the biocontrol, that's actually where the magic for us happens, where we control the pH, where we control the temperature, where we can control a lot of stuff that's in the environment to grow the algae in a controlled way. In the bioreactor itself, we are able to control the algae, and in the second or in the fourth phase, we are able to harvest the algae. And then in the extraction, we are able to get the multiple elements out of the algae that can be used either for food production, create bioplastics, or medicine, or used in the pharma industry to create cosmetics. Um, that's all being realized in a controlled way, in a pace that is at least 10 times or 100 times faster than nature is able to do that. So by means of this, Festo is well working on a future where we can use technology to speed up the bioeconomy, but we cannot do that alone. So let's work on it together. We really challenge people, also the Wageningen University, also the Rethink Food Challenge. We challenge the new generation because we come from an industry perspective, but we need to have people who think a little bit different than we might do or did in the past. So we need a new generation. We want to educate the generation on this is what the technology can help you with, but also we need your input. So how can we use this technology and how can we bring it to the next level? So collaboration for this topic is very important for us. So thank you. This was my short introduction on Festo and a little bit of a different way. Well, maybe people know Festo of.
The new frontier.
Yeah, a new frontier for us.
Exactly. So you have actually on our panel, we have Festo and Siemens. Actually, you both come from another other industrial sector, let's say. So you have a lot. We also see a lot of collaboration possibilities in bringing innovation to the food world. Like for example, the food and agri is probably the last sector to being more digitalized, for example. So from your point of view, your work, also a question for all the panels, where do you specifically see more collaboration with this kind of cross-pollination need to happen concretely to speed up what we are talking about today? What your wish list? What do you like to see happen that this can speed up your work?
Oh, I would like to see more collaboration, so people stepping out of their own boundaries, out of their own comfort zones. More collaboration is, I think, decisive. So innovation is not part of one individual person, not one company, but I think it's part of a collaboration. So I think that's for us very interesting, but also necessary, also for us as an industrial company to survive in the future.
Okay, great. More specifics, Rick?
Yeah, well, I would actually to mention that yesterday I was at a really great opening of a field lab. It's a field lab from 80 Acres Farms where they actually have create a mini farm in The Hague. It's like a mini vertical farm module where they actually it's basically a platform. And Siemens is a technology partner of 80 Acres, but they also have other equipment builders like TTA for machines, SIG for sensors, other universities. And basically what you see is that if you have a platform, an ecosystem, and you can have it with different companies, different institutes, you can work together, develop new technologies, test it, but also directly having companies where you can sell it to, and you have even applied research on the spot and the whole commercialization around it. And you see actually that this is really scaling faster and faster because on the one hand side we can do research, but for technology companies like Siemens and also Festo, it is also important to drive business. So on the one hand side you want to develop that, but also how can we help companies to make really the next step. So I think platforms like field labs like this, together with all kind of different stakeholders in the industry, that will definitely scale up our challenges if in terms of food challenges in the world. And you can actually build a field lab everywhere.
Yeah.
That's in the US, in China, in Singapore, from all different topics. It can be alternative proteins, it can be aquaculture, it can be space tech. It's all about collaboration.
Yeah. Seeing is believing. That's the
Exactly,
really idea,
exactly.
especially on green tech, of international platform, to think about that kind of a really approach that you can have these centers all around the world and collect collaboration and knowledge together.
One thing, I'm working for headquarters, and often I get the question, Rick, do you have a company where we can test or develop new products? Well, then you can go to a company saying, yeah, can we collaborate? But that's like one-to-one, and sometimes people don't have time. It's always super difficult. But actually what you want to have is like an environment where collaboration is key, but also with different stakeholders, because it's not only testing it to one company. Now you want to have a whole ecosystem. You need to hold the whole supply chain where you actually work together on new solutions.
Yeah.
And companies like Siemens, they want to do that, but it's often quite challenging still or difficult to find these platforms, because who is owning that, who is driving that, and you need to start it. And that is basically somebody needs to take the ownership of making that next step.
Okay. Any comments from Camilla?
Yeah, I mean, you both mentioned collaboration, which, and maybe just to further drive that point home, I think it has to happen. This work cannot happen in silos. I think to drive change, ultimately, all of the stakeholders in the supply chain need to be involved. That's policymakers, retailers, consumers, growers. It's an ecosystem, and ultimately, we're all accountable to do our part and share learnings.
Vigor, any comment?
Yes. Actually, I would like to invite you to come to Wageningen and help us out, because the dome we want to build, it's not alone about growing the crops inside. That's what I can do. But there's a lot of technology involved. The CO2 part, but also the things you're working on. And actually, one of the major goals of building that dome is to bring all those things together in one building, so they can work together and design something that, well, we could use on Mars, but not only on Mars, you could also put it in a desert, for instance, because you can grow your own crops there then in isolation, totally circular. But that needs science, it needs technology, and it has to come together. Exactly what you say. So, and we want to build that platform in Wageningen.
Yeah. I think many times we already mentioned about the young talent, collaboration, innovative ideas. I think it's a good moment that I also conclude our discussion with bring attention to this challenge already mentioned by our panelists. It's a Rethink Food Challenge organized by Wageningen University. Can we maybe go down with, if you can press the play button, or do I have to press it? Yeah, if you can, yeah.
Oh, that's one too much.
It's already going.
Yeah.
You can press the play. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to the Rethink Food Challenge by Wageningen University and Research. A groundbreaking competition designed to redefine the boundaries of food production through the lens of space farming. This is your call to action. As we face limited resources, a growing population, and the challenges of climate change, your innovative ideas are needed more than ever. Join us in a quest to develop sustainable, circular solutions for food cultivation on Earth, Mars, and Moon. Work in interdisciplinary teams, identify real-world problems, and design viable innovations that bridge gaps in our current food systems. Get coached by experts, network with industry leaders, and gain exposure for your ideas. This is your chance to grow, to make a difference, and possibly to jumpstart your career in a direction you've always dreamed of. Join us in this transformative challenge and help forge a sustainable future for our planet.
It's the essence, right? Push the boundaries. Get the young people involved.
Yeah.
Let me see. So I'm myself am on the organizing committee together with Vigor. So welcome to get more information from me. And today's session will be also recorded to share with the young talents around the world starting in November challenge. I would like to ask the panelists, because we mentioned so many times on innovation. So what kind of advice do you have for young people, young entrepreneurs, when they wanted to have game changer business model? They have ideas. How do they make that also more concrete, more relevant, and also make it upscalable?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, maybe we can. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I love this question. First of all, I just want to say that I think anyone that's involved in this industry is in a very exciting place, and it's definitely the right industry to be in right now. There's just so much room for growth and innovation in general, and it makes me very excited. My advice would probably be to fail fast. So try something and try it again. I think we learn the most in our failures, and ultimately as a young entrepreneur, you're in a place where you can do that. And yeah, I think
Great.
yeah.
Rick?
Well, 100% agree that this industry is huge. It's growing, has a lot of potential, and I think the combination now coming from where you see agriculture in combination with the whole technology, what we all seeing, all the potential, that is great. And I think definitely the universities, they're doing a great job, and also now you see more and more the big companies stepping also in this market. So there will come a lot of possibilities. So I think if you believe in something, what is disruptive, what is contributing to make our world better, you should really hold on to that, because there will come a lot of opportunities, and these opportunities will definitely, they are already there, but there will be tons of opportunities in this market, and I'm for sure, because I'm seeing them already. We are all seeing them already, and there will be a solid foundation coming more faster. And of course, there will be more universities, more platforms coming to really support it, because the more companies are getting into this game, there also more investments will be made. There will be more. I'm really being reached out to many universities all over the globe. They're saying they want to collaborate, but it's now only Siemens. But there are more companies like Siemens. So, and they also will step in this game, and they will also collaborate, and they will all invent new technology, and it will grow exponentially in the upcoming years. So, this is only the beginning, and there will be a lot more to follow.
It's just the beginning. Vesto?
Yeah, I agree with Rick. So there are big companies like Siemens and Festo that can help out and help startups and scale-ups to grow faster. But it's always difficult for a startup and a scale-up company to get in contact with big companies. So where do you start with a big company?
Yeah.
So that also that means that big companies need to have like a twofold business approach. So on the one hand, you need to have where you earn the money, and on the other hand, you need to have like the possibility where to spend the money on ideas, on innovations, on entrepreneurial thinking, and that is not always very easy. But we need to challenge them, and well, maybe you need people like Rick and myself to be open to discuss that with everybody who has a great idea. Just reach out, and you never know what comes out of it. But it's up to us, to the big companies also, to open the front door, let people in, pitch your ideas, and maybe we can create a solution.
It's where great to have young people who are not hindered by fear of history. Let them push the boundaries and get a discussion and thinking going, right?
Yes, and for example, Siemens has also the Werner von Siemens Foundation. It's an initiative they run, and they support universities. They really collaborate and give also young students possibility to scale up their businesses. So there, but you can of course do it only limited, right? You cannot help everybody. So that's why you need to have more people, more companies stepping into the game, and really create a platform where interesting ideas they're being take off, and I also do see a responsibility of governments here, because they need to also support this. We all have a major challenge. We need to produce more sustainable.
Banks.
Exactly. So more and more people need to step in. That will make it all happen.
Thank you. Also, any questions from the audience? And welcome to step in, especially our interested growers for technology that's on the cutting edge, but then could become a profitable business tomorrow. Any questions, discussions? Okay. Well, I think.
Maybe I can
Go ahead.
add a little bit to what you already said, because well, if you have a great idea and someone says no, don't take that no for granted. Just go for it. And especially Wageningen has Start Life. So if you have a great idea, you can apply there for a grant, and then you can start your own startup. They will help you on the way, and it's specially designed for startups in the agro business. So there's always that opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and also as industry, I think more exposure and it need to be given to the startup. So next year at Green Tech, the winner of this challenge will be featured for the next year's program. So I hope that one will become the next Skytree, winning a industry award after that.
Absolutely.
That will be very exciting to see the development from complete seed innovation and going into the upscaling process. And then we can review if that ecosystem collaboration has improved indeed over the years. So on that note, if no more questions, I thank you everybody for being here and for the listening and paying attention. And I hope this session have given you some food for thought. Thank you very much.